It's not that way. And this is where I get into trouble, these low-life bastards, because I say, you know what, kiss my ass. You're my servant. I pay your salaries. And by the way, come polish my shoes. That pisses them off. Well, you know, go ahead, cut me with that stick and watch how much money I make. Give it your best shot, because you shoot at me, I'm liable to shoot back. It's coming. It's coming. The war is here. They brought it to us. And finally, enough Americans, I think, have had enough. It used to be, you know, years ago, they give you a ticket. It wasn't worth your time to go down and fight it. You had to take off time from work, so you just paid it. But that's when it was $15, $20, $50 to $100, whatever. Now we're talking traffic fees of thousands of dollars, not to mention insurance rates doubling or tripling. And, you know, this DWI's bullshit, you know, God help you if you get pulled over on the DWI, because you're looking at least $5,000 just in fees and fines. Then on top of that, you got all the rehab that you got to go through, all this other horseshit. It's so far out of control that I don't think anything short of hot lead in the air is going to turn it around. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Let me get your input, because this is one of the things that I'm working on right now is the illegal situation, and I am working with an elected official here in our sheriff to make people aware of the illegal situation. Now, I think that the same thing is happening to America with the illegals. That happened to the Russians when the Jews were let out of the Pale settlement and they ran across Russia, and Stalin was guilty of killing 60 million white Christian Russians. I think the same thing is happening in America today. I think the cities are basically the ghettos of today, and there, where is the police state more apparent than a city? Do you feel reassured when you see a cop car behind you?
Well, as perfected as my routine is, I still get nervous. You know, even when I go into court, even just as a visitor or a observer, those faggots in that black dress can be intimidating, and it's not them so much, because we know what they're doing under their skirts with the AA batteries. Those don't bother me as much as the big dumbass bastards that got the gun on their hip and the big badge, and they'll bring 2 or 3 of them when I come into court. Well, these bastards in Fresno, the sheriff in general, which are the ones that are in the courts, the bailiffs, you know, here in Fresno County, you don't even have to have a high school diploma to become a sheriff's officer. Well, so they can't read 99% of the time. They're dumb as rocks. They were picked on and pissed on as kids in school, in junior high and high school. Now, you add that and you strap a big-ass gun on their hip. How smart is this? How stupid are we to let them get away with this? Or you give them tasers. We just, day before yesterday, 35-year-old man down here, because he mouthed off to a cop. They tased him. They killed him. You know, people are starting to get on to get a handle on it, I think. But again, I don't think it's enough soon enough, and I don't know how many of them are willing to go to the mat like you and I do, Clay. You know, my show took off about 2 years ago, and I pack the lines every time I'm on now. And I've got, you know, and I continue to tell people, and I have people call me at 6:30 in the morning up until 2, 3 in the morning, wanting answers, and I don't have the answers. I tell people continually, listen, I'm not the brightest bulb in the box. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. I'm just a big old dumbass redneck. But I have a voice that people are comfortable with and like. I accept that and I acknowledge that. And I've got some great people that I know that I can call on, that I call friends, that are brilliant. And I'm somehow able to bridge that gap between the intellectuals like Dave Merlin and Irwin Schiff with the commoners, the white trash like myself. I'm able to bridge that gap, and that's a real blessing for me. It's my gift from God. Why it happens, I don't know. You know, then you got the snakes. You got the patriots for hire, like Pay Me Man Motahede from Freedom Law School. That lowlife Iranian Jew bastard, scum-sucking pig, needs to be put on a boat headed back to Iran and dumped about halfway through. He's got nothing better to do than to condemn and hammer on Americans and steal as much revenue and money as he can from them. That's his. When he gets up in the morning, that's his goal for the day, is to screw another American.
But isn't he teaching people that the IRS is not a government agency? Isn't he telling the truth? But then good propaganda is 90% the truth, isn't it?
Yeah, Pay Me Man does what he does. I give him full credit for one thing. He puts on some great seminars. He puts great people together, great lecturers and whatever. He's lost his ass the last couple of years, which is a good thing. But he is just nothing but a user and abuser, and he's pumping kids out left, right, and center. I think he's trying to have his own football team. That's all he seems to, as far as helping people, he helps them out of their money. And this is what really sucks. When you've got people down and out losing their homes, losing everything, getting ready to go to jail, and they got a little nest egg stashed away, that's what he goes after, is that nest egg. He'll take their last $6,500. I've got friends of mine that he's stolen anywhere from $6,500 minimum up to $20,000-$30,000. There's about 10 people I know that he's just bent over. Pay the second they needed his help and assistance. Oh, well, there's an additional fee there. We need another $10,000 because this is a pre-existing condition. Screw you, Pay Me Man. And now I've heard him so bad when it comes to this tax stuff, to being, the tax man. He's now changing his new MO is he's going after the mortgage situation. He's jumping on that bandwagon. And I've tried to warn people, don't give this lowlife piece of shit a dime. Don't even listen to him. He's had great people working for him. He shanked me personally out of about $30,000. Do I have a hard-on for him? Hell yes, I do. Absolutely I do. Because he's a lying, cheating thief. Just doing my best to expose the lowlife scum sucker for what he is. But has nothing to do with...
We've had this all through the whole Patriot movement. Suddenly we had Tri-States Militia coming up before Oklahoma City, and they had a meeting, and I showed up as the Free American, not necessarily as a militia, although I did have my sidearm on, and they wanted to kick me out. I said, why would you kick out the one magazine that's on your side?
Yeah, the one person that gives you any legitimacy, that's the one you want to get rid of. And it's because, Clay, we're a threat to these people. The truth has a way of always shining through. And, what my reputation is built upon that, the truth. Listen, I'm human. I still make mistakes. I make errors. I make errors in judgment.
Yes, we do.
What I do different than a lot, and I'll speak specifically of government, is when they make an error or a mistake. When, if ever, have you ever seen a cop back the fuck up and say, you know what, I'm sorry, I didn't understand, I misunderstood, I made a mistake? No, it doesn't happen. They kick it up a notch and kick the charges higher and throw your ass in jail because they're too chicken shit to admit they made a mistake or an error. So what I do, anytime I do, and DV Kid's a dear friend, she hasn't nailed me in probably a year, but I used to send emails out that looked really good without doing the research to see if they were good. There's an individual named Sorshafal, Shorafall.
Yeah, right from Russia, to expose the American government here. Yeah,
well, Sorshafall, 90% of their stuff is very good, but they just salt it with good stuff, and then they throw the bullshit in there, which is to get you. And I will not send anything out. I don't promote anything. I've contacted whoever this Sorshafall is and asked them to do a debate with me. I get a form letter back from them, just like the government does when you question them, saying thank you for being interested. What a bunch of horseshit. They're nothing but, in my opinion, a plant. They're a mole.
Anybody in the world can call me. Anybody in the world can send me an email, and I respond. And I have a reputation in the motorcycle industry, as well as the Patriot movement. I tell you the truth. I don't pull any punches. I don't favor nobody. I don't give a shit what religion you are. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what race you are. I don't care what state you came from. I'm from Texas. I don't hate anybody from Oklahoma, unless, of course, they refer to us as Baja, Oklahoma. Then we got to fight. But yeah. And I've been attacked more. Well, since we're naming names here and talking, How about Alex Jones? I mean, what do we got in Alex Jones? I know Alex personally. He's spoken. I let him speak. I gave him booze. Let him speak at my events. Don't believe he paid me any money for it. But what about him?
Alex, well, for me, Alex was a real go-getter. I saw change in Alex about 10, 15 years ago.
Before
and
or after
he did a lot. He did a lot to support us and in our favor, like when he broke into the Bohemian Grove and did that special thing. You don't see that type of bulldogness with him anymore, and it happened right after his kids were born. When you get kids, suddenly your priorities and all that changes. Now you've got your life sitting in front of you. And, they've traumatized me with my children. My kids now are 17 and 18, so they're old enough that, they're thinking of doing their own thing, which is great. But when they pulled me over in '99, guns drawn and ready to blow me away with my 4- and 5-year-old in the car, you got to change your priorities. My kids were the number one, so I bowed down and I was very subservient, and off to my house they went and trashed me for 4.5 hours. Well, that's a big change. If my kids hadn't been with me, my kids, I give them full credit, they probably saved my life because they were in the car. And, these chicken shit cops, as low life as they are, they didn't have the guts to blow me away in front of my own kids, I would imagine. Like I said, when it comes to cops, you won't find a good word coming out of my mouth about them. The whole system, though, now is turning on its ears. It's absolutely turning on its head because more people are out there figuring it out and fighting and wanting to know what to do. Getting any of them, though, to make the commitment. I've told people this. I've got a friend of mine down here that is losing his house. I told him 1.5 years ago when I first met him, he was whining and crying to me, "Oh my God, they're going to take my house. They're going to do this. They're going to do that, and they're calling me." And I told him then, I says, "Listen, you've got, as I see it, for what that's worth, you've got one of 3 options here. You can do number 1, you can pay them off, and they'll leave you alone. Well, I don't have $10,000. Okay. Number 2, you can move. Get the hell out. Oh no, we don't lose our house. Okay. Then number 3 is." You're going to buckle down, you're going to study, you're going to learn, and you're going to see what the law is, and you're going to fight. "Oh, I don't want to fight." And I said, what part of 1, 2, or 3 did you not understand? If you've got another option that I'm missing here, I'll be glad to hear it. And it took him about a day to think it through and go, you know what, you're right, I need to do this. And he started, I feel sorry for the newbies that are just coming into our movement because they've been brought up in public schools. They've been taught that the American way, truth, justice, and the American way, and the honesty and all that. It doesn't happen, not in this country. He went into it, he's studying, he's going, oh my God, and he thought he was simply going to have to write a couple letters, point out the errors of their ways, point out where the criminality of their part has taken place, and life would be good. He's going to walk away with his house free and clear. So after the first 30-day passed and he didn't hear anything back from them, now he's going to default them and he's going to make them get out and he's going to live happily ever after. Life will be good. He's been fighting it 1.5 years now, spent lots of money. They're still going after his house. And he still has a hard time. Well, this is not you're right. In a perfect world where the law mattered, it doesn't matter here. We prove that on a daily basis. It would. The law would work. But it doesn't work because of the corruption, which it all boils down to the same thing that has always been the problem with the world, the money. Follow the money. And I think it starts, in my opinion, who's going to have the biggest or worst hell to pay when day of reckoning comes is you're going to be your pastors and your preachers, because they are lying to their flock. They are, they're 501c3s, which means they're serving the devil and himself anyway. You can't serve 2 masters. And they're going to have the highest bill to pay for leading their flock astray like they've done. They're not telling the truth, and it's our fault. We've allowed this to happen. It's absolutely our fault. When we'd rather wait for it to come out in the way of a movie than to crack the Bible and read it, or go to the pastor and listen to his interpretation of it, and it's easier for us to pay our way into heaven by throwing in that collection plate. We just bought the e-ticket, we get the good rides. No, that's not the way it happens. That's not the way it happens. And then You know, I know of a church over in San Jose, one of the biggest over there, who have like orgies after the church. They go in and they pray, you know, the praise the Lord, and they do the hocus pocus and the hokey pokey dance and the whole 9 yards, and it sure sounds good, and praying down the giftings of God and speaking in tongues and all this, and then right afterwards it's a drunken orgy at the church pastor's backyard. I got a problem here with this. You know, what goes on behind the scenes that the commoners never see, I've had privy to, and it's just not right. I was a paramedic for years, and I used to party with cops and firemen and everybody else. I mean, cocaine, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. They're some of the biggest partiers out there. But the general public doesn't see that. It's all behind closed doors. You know, we've got cops here in town that are running around loaded. They don't have to take drug tests. They don't take drug tests. If they did, our own police chief would fail because he's a druggie. It's just wrong. The laws and orders and the requirements they put on us, GQ public, is so much more stringently enforced. It's really easy for them to slap you in jail for doing the same thing they did the night before. It's just wrong. It's just wrong. So, you know, some of these, and where people are really losing it the most is, again, they watch it on TV. They see these dumbass shows like Cops, where they're continually and persistently violating people's liberties and rights, and because they see it on TV, they assume that it's okay to do. It's okay to cuff the guy up and beat his wife and beat his ass while he's in cuffs, or kill him with a taser. Because we saw it on TV, that must mean it's okay. And so they've numbed us down. They've desensitized us.
They don't call it programming for nothing.
Yep, exactly.
And
then you got.
I think you're right too about I was just talking about these 501c3s. What they're trying to do now. There are some things that Obama is doing that we can use in our favor. I've got that up on my website about this run we're talking about. He's offering credits, tax credits, to anybody that hires a veteran. I want the ranchers and the farmers to hire the veterans and show them how to raise the food, because anytime a communist regime takes over, they go after the food first. Can you say Archer Daniels Midland? Can you say Monsanto? Can you say no food that we don't own? That's their logo, I believe, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And, you know, right now, I think it's 98% of the corn and I think 100% of the soy is all GM, genetically modified. And in Germany and a couple of other countries over there, they've burnt down GMO fields. I mean, completely burnt them down because they do not want GMO in their strains of food. Like I said, it's about 98% corn here. You can't find an ear of corn at the store anymore with worms in it. Remember, that's what you used to look for. You used to peel it down looking for worms. It's all the most pretty, beautiful corn there is, because it's producing its own pesticides. Wake up, folks. If it's killing the bugs, it's probably killing you.
That's right. And by the way, let me share a little, not that he was necessarily a good guy, but every now and then, you know, you get a piece of wisdom from somebody. This one comes from Sir Winston Churchill. If you will not fight for the right when you can easily win without bloodshed, if you will not fight when your victory will be sure and not so costly, you may come to the moment when you have to fight with all the odds against you and only a precarious chance for survival. There may be a worse case. You may have to fight when there is no chance of victory, because it is better to perish than to live as slaves.
Absolutely. And, you know, people around me, I've got many friends around me, and they constantly ask, Jack, how do you do it? What do you mean, how do you do it? You just do it. For me, it's become first nature. It's just part of, you know, I live what I say. I cannot understand these phony balonies. It's just so foreign to me how they can talk out of both sides of their mouth and look at you and, you know, and get away with it and actually believe their own bullshit lies. It just is amazing to me. I'm not that shallow, I guess. Maybe I need to be that shallow, and I could be.
I warned the sheriff. I said, if we put together an event for illegal aliens, talking about illegal aliens in the public, in the press, we're going to get so much opposition. The word will go out that we're racist, that we're doing this and we're doing that. let's do it for the veterans. Let's do it for the veterans, and they agreed to that. Because I think any time they sprayed us with Agent Orange in Vietnam because they didn't want well-trained, combat-hardened veterans coming back to this country and seeing the communist mess that they put us into. And the same thing applies for sending aspartame over to our soldiers in Iraq, causing Gulf War illness. The same thing applies to giving our soldiers depleted uranium to use in ammunition. Hell, this'll kill your enemy, but it'll kill you in 10 years.
Sure, and we're seeing that all the time. I mean, this thing with Fukushima in Japan, it is killing us as we speak. And they're shutting down schools in China and Japan and Asia when they have a quarter of the level of fallout that we're seeing in this country on a daily basis. The schools, yet we got the kids out playing in it.
But rats won't eat that. Rats won't eat genetically modified corn if you leave it laying out, and yet you're feeding it to your children. To me, that is the mass murder. That is the way they plan on killing 50 million or more white Christian Americans.
Yep, and you can feel it in the weather. I mean, it's going to be, I think, 87 here today. This weather this year has been just totally sucked. But at 93 yesterday, it felt like it was 200 degrees out there. So the radiation, it's totally altered and modified. I think we're getting hammered the hardest here in California because the West Coast, or the left coast, we're getting the radiation dropped all over us. And it's one of the reasons I think that they've legalized marijuana here, is to be able to allow people to suck it up, the marijuana, smoking the marijuana, so you don't have to think about, or you're a little less in touch with reality by using the drugs.
I don't agree with that. I think that the marijuana is the plant of renown, spoken of in the Bible, and I think it helped wake us up. We smoked that in the '60s, laughed at it, and stopped the war. I think we ought to be doing it again, personally. But I probably have took a token every show here. So.
I know you do. Here in California, I mean, I've got my license and I've got my waiver where I can grow up to 99 plants, and I think I can have 10 or 12 pounds throughout a year. I'm moving in with you next week, Mike.
In
fact, I'm opening a co-op out here. We're starting a co-op. We've been working on it for a couple of months. We're scheduled to open, I think, October the 5th, where we've got grow rooms and everything else all, set up so you've got the lights and the watering and everything, keeping it nice inside grows. I got a buddy of mine. Let me tell you about this one, Clay. I know you're a pot connoisseur. He had a cola.
I helped start High Times. I financed Jack Harrell when he wrote The Emperor Wears No Clothes. Yeah, I helped start Normal, so with Keith Stroop. So
well,
yeah,
he had a single cola last year. One cola out of one strain of his plants that was 3 feet in diameter at the bottom. It weighed 14 ounces, a single cola. And for those people that don't understand the terminology, the cola is the bud. The bud. It was 14 ounces, a single bud. So, and sticky as it comes. So, the strains are very potent, very good. I prefer to eat it through candy or the cookies or the butter than actually smoking it. But, I've got a bad back. I've had back surgery. I was butchered several years ago by the doc. So I, on occasion do it to help me sleep at night or to put me down, to get me where I can have a full night's sleep, because my mind races all the time. I can't back off and back down. So totally legal and legit. But again, and it could be, it's a great product as far as curing cancer. It does heal and cure cancer in the way of the oil. You can take the oil, you can take the bud and soak them in alcohol and use the alcohol to rub on your joints, and it gets rid of arthritis pain. It lubricates the joints. It's got some very, very good medicinal properties that people don't understand, and I'm not promoting the use of it.
I am. You can do that on the show, because look, Jack, in the 30s, William Randolph Hearst got that mansion up there on the coast of California because he demonized pot and got hemp eliminated, our #1 cash crop, $1 billion crop in the 30s. They stole it from us. I'm sorry, but that's the way I see it. It don't matter about smoking it. It don't matter about whether you smoke it or not. It don't affect you. It don't affect your reactions. I got 100,000 miles on a motorcycle when I've been smoking. You know, it don't affect your reactions. It don't affect your thinking. I'm sorry. I don't.
Well, you know, the other part of that is if you don't want to use the medicinal part of it for smoking or for whatever, the hemp plant, which is still a marijuana plant, but it doesn't have the potency of the marijuana as far as getting high, is the best fiber you can get for clothing, for rope, for anything. It is such a strong fiber, and you can use it to produce fuel, to make, you know, they had cars running on hemp back in the 30s. But again, like you say, Hearst and the rest of those bozos that were into it for the oil got it all banned. So now we're fighting just tooth and nail to try to regain the right to be able to have this product and use it for what it can be used for. There's not a single piece of a marijuana plant that is not usable or viable for something. Not one piece. So you can beat it down and pulpize it and turn it into paper. I mean, clothing, rope, you name it. It does it. Fuel, what can't you use it for? Medicine? Everything we're using oil for, the hemp plant, the marijuana plant, can be used for, and it is a weed, so it's not hard to grow.
Well, it wasn't only William Randolph Hearst. The DuPonts and Mellon Bank were responsible for getting this made illegal, because guess what? They had the patents on the nylon and rayon, which is made out of oil, which they got from Rockefeller.
Right, right. Well, you know, I've got an investment in this currency called the dinar, and I think you may have too. I don't know.
I've heard about it. I haven't invested in it. Of course, I don't have any money to invest, but I do. I do need help selling books. I do need donations, folks. You need to go to freeamerican.com and see the books. You can download this interview up on Blog Talk Radio. Just save to your default player and pass it around. Let people know. You know this, Jack. What you were doing and what I am doing here and been doing for the last 20 years, I think is the most important thing. Who has always made the difference in history? It's the writers. It's the writers. It's the people that are putting out the information. It's the publishers. It's the Benjamin Franklins. It's the Thomas Jeffersons. It's the Alexander Solzhenitsyns out there that are trying to tell you here's what you got coming. If you don't learn from history, here's what you got. Here's how it's going to be repeated right here. That's what I'm trying to tell people now. That's what I'm going to do with this show. This is what I intend to do with this event that we're going to put on. How do the people take back control of the country? You do it with working with your elected officials, and you do it in a coordinated way, and you have to stand up against the propaganda of the left or the right. I don't know, you know, to me it's a whole Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative is two wings of the same bird. This is about freedom, this is about liberty, and if my kids are free and my kids are safe, then yours should be too, no matter what color you are, or what religion you are, or what race you are. And that's how our founding fathers structured this. That's why they gave us the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, folks.
Well, you know, the old saying that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely is such a true statement. And, you know, I used to not know or not really have a feeling of whether these low-life scum-sucking pigs were dirty going into it or if they become dirty after they're in there. I think now, because in the police end of it, they see a gravy train there, an easy ticket. They know they can literally get away with murder. Again, they don't want to go out and do a real day's work and have to actually work for their money. So I think a lot of them go into it corrupt from the get-go. They're damaged goods from school. They're damaged goods from the parenting they had, and now they're coming in and they're giving them guns. So there's a problem. Same thing with these damn politicians. The politicians, we're seeing first, second, third generation politicians who know that they could suck on the tit of society. Their dad did it, their grandpa did it, and it's just, you know, it's like the Bushes. Look at the Bushes, perfect example of it. Look at the Kennedys. You know, the Kennedys run. How many different generations of Kennedys do we have out there? Completed. So,
all right, we're out of time here. I want to thank you for